Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we will look at rearranging formula. So just note that a formula or a rule in mathematics is an equation with two or more pronumerals, one of which is the subject. So this first equation here would constitute a rule or formula because it has two pronumerals, so two or more pronumerals, check. And one of them is the subject. Y is the subject. We call whatever is by itself the subject of the equation. So Y is the subject there. In this equation, we still have two pronumerals, but neither of them is the subject. So this does not constitute a rule or a formula. But whether it is a rule or not, we can still rearrange it. What we're going to do in each of these is make x the subject. So what that means is I want to rearrange this equation. So it's the same equation, same information, but it's of the form x equals something. And similarly here, I want to get x equals something. That's what it means to make x the subject. Any equation with x by itself on one side of the equal sign has x as the subject. So how am I going to rearrange this so x is the subject? Well, you just treat it like a normal equation. We want to get x by itself, undo everything that's been done to x. So we timesed x by 4, then divided 3, then subtracted 1 to get y. So the last thing we did was subtract 1. The first thing I'm going to do to both sides is to add 1. So what I'm going to get then is y plus 1 equals 4x on 3. So now I'm going to undo dividing 3 by timesing by 3. So I need to times the whole shebang by 3. So it's 3 brackets, y plus 1 equals 4x. And then, of course, I want to divide each side by 4. So then I'm just going to be left with 3 lots of y plus 1 divided by or over 4 equals 4x divided by 4 is x. This is the same equation as that. They're equivalent equations, but here x is the subject. So let's try that here. Let's get x by itself. So first thing we're going to do if I want x by itself, we're going to get rid of this 4y. So it's a positive 4y. We can just subtract it from both sides. So we will get negative 7x equals 28 minus 4y. Okay, now I want to get x by itself. I need to divide each side by negative 7. So I divide everything by negative 7. Negative 7x divide negative 7, x. 28 divided by negative 7 is negative 4. Now I have to divide negative 4y by negative 7. I can just write that as positive because negative divide negative, positive 4 over 7y. There we are done. All right, let's look at a harder example now. So let's have a go at rearranging this formula to make x the subject, which turns out will be quite tricky. But what I really want to do is I want to get x in just one spot. So just like I would for normal equations, I'm going to get rid of the fraction. I'm going to do this by timesing by its denominator. If I divide x minus 2 and times x minus 2, they cancel each other out. Once again, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So the left-hand side becomes y outside of x minus 2 equals x. So if this were just a normal equation, like 4x minus 2 equals x, we would expand the brackets, then subtract the x with the lowest coefficient. We're not going to do any different here. We're going to expand the brackets like this, and we want to subtract the x with the lowest coefficient. We don't really know which is the lowest coefficient. This is a 1, this is a y. Don't really know which is lower. It doesn't matter whether I subtract x from both sides or yx from both sides. So what I'll do, I'll just subtract x from both sides. So I get yx minus 2y subtract x equals 0. So that came about from subtracting x from both sides. So I want x to be in one spot, so I'm just going to write these two right next to each other. I can just rewrite this as yx minus x minus 2y equals 0. See, what that allows me to do, I can actually factorize this part here to get x to one spot. You see, if I take out x, I just have x times what equals yx? Well, that's y. What do you times by x to get negative x? Well, that's negative 1. See, in factorizing there, I now have x in just one spot. So what I can do is I can now add 2y to both sides. So adding 2y to both sides gets me a step closer to having x by itself on one side of the equation. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by the coefficient of x. I'm going to divide each side by y minus 1, because that will mean I get x by itself on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I've got y minus 1. So when we're doing something like this, we should just write that y can't equal 1. Because if y was to equal 1, that means we would have divided each side by 0, which you absolutely cannot do. So we also know instinctively here y can't equal 1 because x and x minus 2 can't be equal anyway. But this is just a mathematical convention. We just write this to show that we know that we can't divide by 0 here. So this is our final answer here. X equals 2y over y minus 1. It's the same as this formula, but x is the subject. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.